former military head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, has called for more efforts in the fight against all forms of insecurity in the country. General Babangida gave this advice while underscoring the impute of the armed forces in the unity of Nigeria. On their part, governors from Imo, Rivers and Anambra State all laud the sacrifices of the heroes who fell in a bid to keep the nation safe.
It's just hours before this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day, a day set aside to celebrate the courage, patriotism and sacrifice of men of the armed forces, some of whom had to pay the ultimate price to keep the country together as one. But before the guns start to boom in salute of the courage of these men, there are church services to thank God for the lives of those still living and show support for the families of those who have fallen. In Rivers State, it's a service of songs and dance, just as the governor, Nyesom Wike, calls for support for the families left behind by the fallen heroes.
If somebody would die because of defending you, because of protecting you, not protecting himself, he laid his life for you and for me to be here today. That is why we have set aside every January 15th as Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
It's a service of dance in Imo State where Governor Rochas Okorocha lauds the sacrifice of the heroes.
They went there to fight, not for their children to go to school. They were fighting not for their wives to wear any clothes. They were fighting to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. So if people try to exist for our nation, they should be honored. So please, men of the armed forces, I salute you.
The vicar of the Holy Ghost Cathedral, where the governor of Enugu State, Ifeanyi Ugwanyi, joins other Christian faithful, wants leaders at all levels to do more listening than talking.
In Nigeria, sorry to say, we have taken the vocation of how to talk to one another. Everybody talks. Everybody talks. And no one wants to listen. I needed a position where I can talk, others listen.
In Niger State, former military head of state General Ibrahim Babangida warns politicians against divisive statements, adding, quote, "As a people, we should inculcate our cultural values that promote good conduct, tolerance, and peaceful coexistence. We should eschew hate speech, discrimination, and other vices that trigger senseless violence and bloodshed." End of quote. In Anambra State, Governor Willie Obiano commends the efforts of security personnel, both living and fallen, in the protection of the country's territorial integrity. As the country remembers the national heroes on Monday, especially those who have fallen, the call continues for everyone to grow their love for the country rather than for a section of the whole.
The sporting world was not left out as part of activities to commemorate the 2018 Armed Forces Remembrance Day week-long celebration. The second edition of the second International Armed Forces Polo Tournament has ended in Abuja. The tournament, chaired by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and attended by the Minister of Defense, Mansouda Ali, Service Chief and Cabinet members, was first held in 2006 since Nigeria's independence and is to enhance official channels of international relations. Nigeria, alongside 5 other teams, including the United States, Egypt, India, Pakistan and Morocco, participated in the event. At the tournament's closing ceremony, the Vice President presented trophies to the finalists, Morocco and Pakistan, and was himself inducted into the Polo Club as a pony was given to him. In the English Premier League, Liverpool have finally ended league leaders Manchester City's 22-game unbeaten run this season following an epic 4-3 win at Anfield. The Reds scored 3 times in a rousing 8-minute spell in the second half, then held on after City scored twice in the last 6 minutes. City remained 15 points clear at the top, though second-place Manchester United have a game in hand against Stoke City on Monday. Liverpool are third, level on points with both United and fourth-place Chelsea. Earlier, Arsenal's miserable recent run continued as goals from Callum Wilson and Jordan Ibe saw Bournemouth come from behind to put a further dent in the Gunners' pursuit of a 4th place. The Liberian ruling party, Unity Party, has expelled its outgoing president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, following her defeat in a presidential runoff election last month. In a statement, the party explains that Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf has violated rules, including a requirement to support the party's candidate in the election. Former football star George Weah defeated the Unity Party's Joseph Boakai in a landslide in the last presidential elections. And following days of demonstrations by anti-austerity protesters, the Tunisian government has announced a wave of social reforms. Tunisian officials say plans have been submitted to the parliament to reform medical care, housing and increase aid to the poor. The Tunisian government has called for emergency government meeting in response to the protests, which have seen more than 800 people arrested. Demonstrations had begun earlier this month after the government announced new tax and price rises in its 2018 budget. And the main news again. The President this evening met with the National Assembly leadership to brief them on the security situation in the country. Governor of Benue State Samuel Ortom today ordered for the prosecution of everyone involved in the latest violence in the state. The governor was speaking at an emergency security meeting after the violence that left 1 person dead in Makurdi on Saturday. And Liberia's ruling party has expelled outgoing President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf after she was accused of encouraging people to vote against her vice, Joseph Boakai. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Melinda Akirami.